Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Hi-Fi Study for You. Today in this video we are going and begin with the oceans of the world, and we are going to talk about the largest, deepest, mysterious and the amazing ocean of the world among the five major oceans of the world, which is none other than the Pacific Ocean. So, let's begin with this Pacific Ocean. So, our target is set now. Pacific Ocean. As I mentioned to you, that it is the first feature is that it is the largest and the deepest ocean of the world. How large it is, how deep it is the on both dimension it's the largest in the among five oceans of the world. So, as we know, ocean contains water, but it's not helpful for our use because it's so full of salt, it's salty water. So, it's like ocean water is not helpful. But it's by examination point of view, the Pacific Ocean and oceans of the world plays an important role for the geography. So let's begin with this wonderful features of the Pacific Ocean. Now, Pacific Ocean is the largest as well as the deepest ocean. Now, let's talk about the boundaries of Pacific Ocean, means on the northmost, southmost, west and the east. So, let's make these we know sides, this at the northmost, this at the south, then the west and here the east. So which landscapes bound all these things? So at the northmost there is present the Bering Sea. So here is present Bering Sea. Okay, northmost is the Bering Sea. Southmost is an important region which is the Ross Sea. Okay, then westmost, here is the country Indonesia. Then eastmost, here is the country Colombia. Okay, so these at the northmost, here is the Bering Sea, then southmost Ross Sea, then Indonesia, and at the east Colombia. So let's recap. Here is the Bering Sea northmost, southmost Ross Sea, then the westmost Indonesia, eastmost Colombia. Right? So these are all boundaries which bounds the Pacific Ocean at the all the sides or four sides. So this is the boundary of the Pacific Ocean, and here is telling the Pacific Ocean. Okay, we are located on the world map. This is the Pacific Ocean. Okay, now let's move further and talk about it further. So let me rub this. Now let's talk about some really important features of the Pacific Ocean. So that is that it covers 1/3 of the TSA. TSA means total surface area of the whole earth. Means if this is our earth, then this 1/3 region is actually occupied by the Pacific Ocean. Right? So we can write the 1/3 of TSA of the earth is the Pacific Ocean, isn't it? Yes, it is. The Pacific Ocean covers 1/3 of the TSA. It's one. Okay, then in terms of water content or how much water it contains, the important feature is that it contains almost 50%, almost, if correctly I told you, 49 point something. So we roughly said approx 50% of water is inside Pacific Ocean. Or now you can freely say that half the total ocean water is contained within the Pacific Ocean. With these, you can freely say that is such mysterious, big, amazing ocean, right? So this is the water content. This is about how much it is covered. So now let's move further. With further detail, now there are also, as we know, everything contains something deep, right? Pacific Ocean also contains, actually, let's suppose this is the Pacific Ocean. This is the Pacific Ocean. Hey, before this, let's catch hold the term Pacific. So what is Pacific? So Pacific, the first time, or Pacific word is actually coined, or you can say discovered, or first used by a Greek philosopher called the Ferdinand Magellan. So Ferdinand Magellan. Okay, Greek philosopher Ferdinand Magellan first used the term Pacific. How? The man said this ocean as the Mar Pacifico. Now, what is like a different language? Mar Pacifico, what it means? It actually means a peaceful sea. So it means a peaceful sea. Okay, it means peaceful sea. Now let's move further with more detail. Let's recap. Pacific term is firstly used by Ferdinand Magellan as Mar Pacifico, which means the peaceful sea. But it's so violent. I will tell you how. So let me rub this. Now what I'm telling you before this, yes, this is the Pacific Ocean. Now here is a region in Pacific Ocean which is the deepest region of the world, of any ocean. So yes, this region, then this region also contain a deep point like this. Okay, and this region continue the Pacific Ocean. Okay, this region is actually termed as the Mariana Trench. This region is called the Mariana Trench. This point, which is the deepest point of the Pacific Ocean, deepest point of the Pacific Ocean is nothing but the Challenger Deep. So this region is the Challenger Deep. So this is the Challenger Deep, Mariana Trench. So now let's move further. Now you have to remember that the deepest region of Pacific Ocean is the Mariana Trench. Inside the Mariana Trench there is a portion or point which is the deepest, which we humbly call the Challenger Deep. It challenges everything. Challenger Deep. Okay. So now let's move and describe the features of the Pacific Ocean. Okay. So an important information that, as we know, northmost the Bering Sea, then Ross Sea, then after Indonesia, Colombia. Now from north to south, and the west to east. Let me tell you the length and the breadth. Okay, it's important. So that is 15500 kilometers, which is 15,500 kilometers. We stress the length from northmost to the southmost. Okay, And from the west to east, the length is 19,800 kilometers. Okay, so this is the breadth, this is the length. Length is 15,500 kilometers, breadth is 19,800 kilometers, right? Okay, so let's describe the features. There are mainly three features. There are mainly three features of the Pacific Ocean, and the first, very important, is nothing but the first feature is the ring of fire. So, ring of fire. So it's like a different thing. Ring of fire. What it means? So ring of fire is nothing but, let me assume this to be the Pacific Ocean. Okay, this is Pacific Ocean. Now around it there is a kind of semicircle or circular format which is formed by the ring of fire. So this here is the ring of fire. So there is a reason at the outer portion of the Pacific Ocean making like a boundary to it, which is nothing but the ring of fire. So it stretches almost 4,000 kilometers. But why we call it a ring of fire? Means what special in it? So this reason is actually contain almost 70% of the volcanic eruption happen here. Almost 90% of earthquakes happen here. So it's so violent, so much eruption, so much volcanic mountains are present here, as well as a great thing, right? So as also at the depth of nearly 1,100 kilometers, there is the deepest volcano ever recorded in the Pacific Ocean in this region. Okay, let's suppose this is that. So how much deep it is? I told you 1,100 kilometers. Name of it? Yes, this is called the West Mata. This volcano is called the West Mata, which is at the depth of 1,100 kilometers depth. Okay, so is at the deepest point volcano. Got it? So now this is the first feature. It contains so many volcanoes. Let's move to the second feature. The second feature of Pacific Ocean is the Great Barrier Reef. So Great Barrier Reef. So what is it? Means Great Barrier Reef. Barrier Reef, what is it? Barrier Reef is nothing but a coral system. So you must knowing it about, and if you not, don't worry, I will tell you. So it's like a coral system. So coral system, this Great Barrier Reef of Pacific Ocean is the largest coral system of the world. Now, what is the coral system? Right, an important question even I got when I studied this. Now, coral system is actually a scene, a scenario which is created by some beautifully designed microbes, microorganisms, flora and fauna inside the water, aquatic life. So this scenario is called the coral system. Okay, and Pacific Ocean contains almost as big as coral system, which we humbly call as the Great Barrier Reef of Pacific Ocean. Okay, coral system means, if you don't understand, means like plants. Let's suppose this is the plants like here and all organisms in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, they are beautifully designed. Let's go to diagram. Okay, so these are called the Great Barrier Reef. Now let's move to the third important feature of the Pacific Ocean, which is nothing but the Great Garbage Patches. So the third feature is the Great Garbage Patches. Great Garbage Patches. It's a serious threat to environment, I'm telling you. Great Garbage Patches. Alright. Now, patches, a kind of, garbage which is just thrown by the human activities or also naturally inside by ash and all that due to the volcanic eruption that happened in the Ring of Fire. Also, industries are the main, I always tell, it's the main about the pollution. It's polluting ocean. Great Garbage Patches are something. This is, let's suppose, a Pacific Ocean. Okay, so now here are so many like plastic bags. There's so much waste present out here that the this aquatic life cannot survive. So life can't survive. So serious threat to environment. We have to save our planet. Right? So these are the great patches. Now there are mainly two great patches of the Pacific Ocean which you have to remember. The first is near California. Second is near Japan. So let me mention. First is near the Japan and the second is near California. Okay, these are first, second great garbage patches. So this is about the features of the Pacific Ocean. There is one more concept which is left. Let me cover. That is, as you know, two big water bodies like two oceans are joined by something as small as a water channel. Now, as we know, there is an ocean called the Arctic Ocean. Arctic Ocean. Arctic Ocean is joined by the Pacific Ocean from a strait which you have to remember. So, this is Arctic, this is Pacific. Okay. So, there is here is a channel which join both these. This is called the Bering Strait. You know Bering Sea, right? Northmost. So, the Bering Strait is actually join the Arctic Ocean from the Pacific Ocean. Okay? Bering Strait joins the Pacific Ocean from the Arctic Ocean. Right? So, there is one more fact that Pacific Ocean is also joined by two more oceans which is Atlantic and Indian. Let's talk about their channels too from which they are joined. So, Pacific Ocean is actually joined by the Indian Ocean. This is here, let's suppose the Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean is joined by the Pacific Ocean by the Strait of Malacca. Which strait? The Strait of Malacca. Okay. One more ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, which is joined by the Pacific Ocean by the Strait of, I will mention here after returning, Atlantic Ocean is joined by the Pacific Ocean by the dark passes. So I am writing here dark passes. Okay. So this is about some streets, some channels which join from one water body to the other. So this is about the Pacific Ocean. Very important fact, one more, is that currently Pacific Ocean, which we humbly now call the largest and deepest ocean, is shrinking. Why? Due to the movement of tectonic plates. Plate tectonics. We know tectonic plates. In the crust there are some plates. So let me explain you. If they move like this, then they form mountains. If they go like this, they form plateaus and all different land masses, landscapes. So like this, Pacific Ocean is containing so much of volcanic eruption due to the Ring of Fire. The plate tectonics contain a drastic movement. Due to this, Pacific Ocean is currently shrinking in size, and due to this reason, Atlantic Ocean has become larger and larger and larger. And also one more fact that due to this reason, this Atlantic Ocean can become in further time in future contain a long span of time will become the largest ocean of the world, not the Pacific Ocean. So this is about the Pacific Ocean. So thanks for watching and I hope you really enjoyed it. Keep learning, stay safe. Thank you.